Roughly 65 million taxpayers e-filed their own returns last year. This means that 43% of taxpayers who e-filed their tax return last year prepared it themselves. A large portion of those taxpayers probably used TurboTax, and if you're watching this video, you might have been one of them, or perhaps you plan to be this year. As a professional tax preparer, there are plenty of situations where I would suggest that you use a professional tax preparer instead of preparing your own return. However, there are certainly situations where it's reasonable to prepare your own tax return. Look, this is not tax advice. If you need tax advice, you can contact us or another tax professional. In this video, I am simply going to walk through how I personally would prepare a tax return using TurboTax based on a very specific set of facts. This might help you determine if you want to prepare your own return or hire someone else, but this video should not be used as tax guidance, tax advice, nor as a gauge on whether or not your own tax return has been prepared correctly or not. I'm also going to check my TurboTax return against a return with identical information in my professional tax software. Just so you know, I fully expect the results to be identical. Your refund and taxes owed are not reliant on the software. The tax return is basic math based on the data that you input into it. So if we prepare two correct returns with identical facts, we should get identical results. I'm going to bookmark different sections of the video in case you want to jump around. These are the facts that we're going to put into this tax return. Everything is completely made up, of course, but it will cover some common scenarios people face when preparing their own tax returns. We'll assume that I have an ordinary W-2 job. My wife has a W-2 clergy job, so we will cover clergy tax issues, including self-employment tax and minister's housing allowance. We'll assume that I have a side hustle, self-employed business. We'll assume that we have 2 kids, that we have a home with mortgage interest and property taxes, that we give some charitable contributions, and that we have a rental property. If you have any situation beyond these, you most likely are already using a paid tax preparer. In fact, it's very possible that if your situation is similar to this made up one, that you might be using a paid tax preparer already. At the end of the video, I will let you know my thoughts on TurboTax as an option for preparing and filing this particular tax return. So let's get started. All right, so I did set up the TurboTax account the other day. Basically, I didn't really put any information in there. It asked me if I wanted to check a couple of boxes, like I had W-2 income, I have self-employment income. So I checked a couple of those things, but there's been really no data entry. I think I might have typed in my name. But that's pretty much it. This is the screen that we land on when I logged back in. So if I click continue on personal info, I think it's going to take me to that section. All right, so it has pulled me up in the My Info section over here. You can see on the left bar, I have some options: federal wages and income. Let's talk about your income. Okay, deductions. Most of this, TurboTax uses like an interview style. We have to go through a bunch of questions and answer them. I really don't like the interview style. It takes a lot of time. Now, I get why they do that. They do that because they need to ask you a bunch of questions to see what applies in order to get the right information to prepare the return correctly. I have been told, I haven't really used TurboTax other than a couple of these review videos that I've done in the past, but I've been told that you can just jump straight to do the data entry. I don't know, like I didn't pay for this. I'm using it for free. It's going to make me pay before it would file, but I'm hoping, I know we can do all the data entry and check a little bit of the numbers with the review process before we pay, and that'll give us a good idea. But I was told you could kind of skip around, but maybe they just meant like you could skip through these without going through the full interview. I'm not sure. But either way, we'll start with the My Information section. So we're going to put in my name, my date of birth, my occupation, tax accountant, not cost accountant, accountant. I'm a tax accountant. We'll go with that. Member of the Armed Forces, no. Florida, did I live in another state? No. Can anyone else claim me as a dependent? I was considered blind? No. Preparing this return for Kenneth who has passed away? No. I want to change the language? No. So we'll click continue there. All right, it's going to ask me for my social security number. I'm going to skip that for now because I don't want you to see that. Select the answer below for filing status. I'm married. It had that checked already. I'm not sure if it somehow got that. I did a review video a couple years ago like this, so maybe it's pulling some information from there. I'm not sure. But I am married in this scenario, and again, we're not going with my information. We're going with our facts that I laid out a minute ago. And married status is the right choice. Do you want to file this return together? Yes, I am going to prepare a joint return here. So spouse's return, again, we're making this up. Tiffany, all right, date of birth, May. We'll go January 1, 1980. Member of the Armed Forces, Florida, lived in another state, no. Claim a spouse as a dependent, legally blind, no. Passed away, no. Change of language, no. Continue. I'm going to skip that Social Security for now. Who qualifies as your dependent? All right, so I did say that we're going to do this with 2 kids, so 2 dependent children. You can click this button. What does it mean to support someone? It'll give you some information that you've got to spend time reading. The benefit of hiring somebody is you don't have to do all of that. What if I have a non-traditional situation? Again, they give you some things to do your own research here. We're not going to go through that because I know the answers to this. This is my child. Continue. Child's first name is Child 1 Wooten. Date of birth, 1/1/2010. My child is a son. Legal parents are us. Disabled, passed away, none. Child is adopted, foster child, none. This is my biological child. They lived with me the whole year in the U.S. Did you pay for more than half their living expenses? Yes. Why are you asking me? Looks good. Okay. Turns out they don't qualify as your dependent. Even though child 1 doesn't qualify this year, we'll keep looking. Why doesn't child 1? Even though they lived with you, paid more than half, he paid more than half. Oh, I answered something wrong. So I need to go back. Did the child live with you? Yes. Did child 1 pay for more than half of their living expenses? No, I did. So I thought that was asking if I paid for more than half. No. All right. Let's check if any relatives. Did a relative live in your home? No. Got it. All right, child 1 does qualify. That's what I was expecting. I had just answered one of those questions wrong. So child 1 does qualify. Let's get their social. We'll take your private. Not valid for employment is printed. Is, so I want to skip that. Add another dependent, my child. Continue. So this is child 2 Wooten. Date of birth 1/1/2012, we'll say. U.S. citizen, also a son. Parents are us, none of the above. Adopted, none of the above. Child 2 lived with you for the whole year? Yes. Was it in the U.S.? Yes. Did they pay for more than half of their living expenses? No. Make sure we answer that question. Did a relative live with child 2? No. So, child 2 qualifies as my dependent. Great. Continue. You're obviously going to have to enter Social Security numbers for this to work, but we're going to skip that because, again, I don't want to do that. Enter your mailing address. I'm just going to put 111 Main Street, Orlando, Florida. We couldn't match it. That's fine. Did either of you make money in other states? No. All right. I don't want to add any max protection or anything. All right. So we're into the income section. Did you make money from interest? No. So we're saying we didn't have any interest income. We didn't withdraw any money from a retirement plan. Didn't get any dividends. Remember, we've got the W-2 income for me, which is a normal W-2. We get the W-2 for my spouse, which is clergy. We've got the rental income, and then we've got a side hustle. So that's all that we're dealing with in this video. Investment losses, no. Foreign bank account, no. All right, so now we're here. And I think I told you this earlier. So W-2, it does, so your income expenses, W-2. Let's start the W-2. So Kenneth's W-2, that's me. And we said that box B, EIN, I want to skip that. I don't want to type that in. Upload it, snap of the photo, type it in myself. So I'm going to type it in myself. So the employer ID number, that's going to be on your W-2. It's your employer's employer ID number. Employer is employer 1. Employer name, address, 111 Main Street, 32832, Orlando, Florida. Yeah, I'm making this part up at this point. Employee is me. Oh, it's going to make me enter this. See if it lets me put that in. Perfect. All right, so box 1, we're going to say that I made $50,000 of W-2 wages and that I had $6,500 in federal income tax withheld. Now, I like it when these auto-populate in my software. They would auto-populate because 50,000 might be here as well and here as well. And then box 4, I just got to figure out what that amount should be. Probably on that amount of income is going to be $3,100. It's 6.2%, and this is 1.45%. So 50,000 times 0.0145 is going to be 725. All right, box 7, 8, 9, 10. Those are all blank for me. So is box 12. I'm not part of a retirement plan. So we're going to say that for all of this. I live in Florida, so I don't have to worry about state taxes. So that's it for my W-2. Again, normal W-2 employee. Non-standard, corrected, didn't get a W-2, unreported, paid, non-qualified, work outside. None of these apply to me. Just got a standard W-2. All right, now I'm going to add, so that's it. That's my regular W-2 for my job. I'm going to add this one for my spouse. And remember, we said continue. This is going to be a clergy W-2. So I'm going to type this in myself because I don't have anyone to actually import because this is made up. Employer's name is Church 1. Address 112 Main Street, Orlando. Continue. All right, so box 1 on my spouse's clergy W-2, we're going to say is $20,000. Federal income tax withheld for this is $5,500. Now this should be blank in boxes 3, 4, 5, and 6 for a clergy W-2, for a standard normal clergy W-2, because you're not in Social Security and Medicare in this sense. You're going to be self-employed even though you get a W-2 for the clergy wages. So 3, 4, 5, and 6 on this clergy return is empty. So it's 7, 8, 10, and 11. Box 12, if you're in a retirement account, and you're contributing to retirement, you're going to have box 12, but we're going to say no to that. You would then check the retirement plan. If that's checked in box 13, we're going to say no to that. Statutory employee, I've seen some clergy W-2s with that checked. It's probably not right. It could be, but it most likely definitely is not right if that's checked. So you'd want to get that checked out. Now, box 14, they're probably going to have housing or clergy in here. And we're going to say our housing is $15,000 for this. So that's your minister's housing allowance. Now, box 14 technically doesn't do anything. It's an informational purpose only box. So even though I typed in housing, it doesn't really do anything at this point. We're going to have to figure out this clergy minister's housing allowance in another spot. So hopefully it will prompt us for that somehow. If you need to add a category, here we go. Add a category. Let's see what we got here. Alaska, California, Hawaii, Kansas, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York. Startup, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Washington, charitable, code UVWXYZ, emergency railroad, sick, state deductible. It's none of that. So we're going to say other not classified. This is double checking state information. Again, we're in Florida in this example, so no. All right. Non-standard, W-2 was corrected, didn't get a W-2, unreported, paid, non-qualified, non-taxable, worked outside, religious employment. Let's check that. Does my work count as, if it does, you earned income as a member of the clergy. So I'm guessing that's going to be right. So let's click continue. All right, so again, I'm saying that this is missionary or pastor. You are clergy staff, not a church receptionist without ministerial duties. We're going with clergy with ministerial duties. So we are clergy. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Enter your parsonage or housing allowance. So that was that MHA that we had in box 14. Most W-2s for clergy have it in box 14. Some don't. but it's very rare to not see it. So you can get it from there. If not, you're going to have to look on a pay stub or get it from the church what your designated housing allowance was. So my designated housing allowance, it was received to me, put in box 14 of the W-2 for my spouse in this example, we're going to say it was $15,000. Qualifying expenses. This should be, what I actually spent. Oh, sorry. It's just asking me for qualifying expenses. So you've got to know yourself to put the lower of, enter the lowest of your housing expenses that you actually spent, the fair rental value plus utilities, or your allowance. So if I actually spent $16,000 on my housing costs and my utilities, it's telling me to put the lowest, so that would be 15. If my fair rental value is only 14, then I would need to put 14 in here. We're going to say that my rental value is higher than this 15. We're going to say that the actual out-of-pocket is higher than this 15. So the lowest of the three numbers is the amount on my W-2. I do qualify to take all 15. Now, this is where you need to pause, do some research on if you actually qualify to take that full amount on your W-2 or not, because it's very possible that you don't, and some of this needs to be added back to your taxable income. In this example, we do qualify to take the full amount. Your clergy housing allowance and wages are subject to Social Security and Medicare taxes, commonly called self-employment tax. How should we calculate these taxes? Pay self-employment taxes on my wages. You do need to do that because you're clergy. Self-employment taxes on my housing allowance. Yes, you need to do that as well. Pay it on my wages and my housing allowance. They've already been withheld, or the income is exempt because I have a 4361. Now, some people have filed Form 4361 to opt out of Social Security and Medicare. In this example, we're going to say that my spouse is not. And I don't know why this option, pay self-employment tax on wages or housing allowance, why those two options are available. I've never seen a situation where you would pay self-employment tax on one or the other, but not both. So for the vast majority of people, and in my situation, with this example tax return, I want to pay self-employment tax on wages and housing allowance. All right, so I've got those two W-2s put in. That's the end of that. So remember, we still have some mortgage interest, property taxes on the home that I own, some charitable contributions. So those are all itemized deductions. We also have my side gig that I've got some self-employment income for, and a rental property. So let's hit continue. All right, let's go with the self-employment income and expenses. We'll jump there next. This is my side hustle. Do you have any self-employment income? Yes. I work in, we're going to say consulting. And it is me, not my spouse. Continue. Main source of income, it's a side job. We're going to put that. I started it this year. We're going to say February 15th. That's when I started it. I stopped. I didn't start or stop. Continue. Did I pay a contractor for work done? No, I did not. I did not actively participate. I did. I am subject to department hours. No, none of those apply. I did actively participate. Now, the other thing doesn't apply. So a little bit of recap here. Business name, business address, business ID number. I'm going to say I don't have any of that. Cash method, yes. Assets, no. Didn't pay any W-2 employees. That's fine. This business code, you're going to want to get that right. We'll say that it's right. Everything looks good. What type of income did you receive? So you probably got a 1099 if you worked for another entity that maybe issued that for you. I'm consulting for individuals. Individuals don't issue 1099s. So in this example for our made up information, we're going to say other and continue. Type of income. I'm just going to say fees. And 7545 is the amount of income that I made from this business. Do you have more self-employment income? No. Claiming your expenses. They give me a little video. I'm going to skip that. Sign in, review. No, I'm going to type in my expenses. I've already calculated my expenses. Continue. Okay. A lot of extra information in here that just drains me personally. This This, by the way, again, I'm going to show you the tax return that I prepared in my own professional tax software. I started this video about 20 minutes ago, and we had the intro, we had, a little bit of loading here, but in my tax prep software, I prepared this return fully from start to finish in 20 to 25 minutes. So it's much easier when you know what you're doing and you can just jump straight to something than having to answer all these questions where TurboTax is trying to do the interview and figure out what I qualify for. I don't have assets. I don't have meals. I'm going to say I do have advertising. I don't know why I can't just type in these expenses, but I had advertising. What else did I have? Insurance, supplies, software, cell phone, and miles. So that's what I'm going to go with in my example. That vehicle, yes. Why aren't these boxes checking? It is being that slow. There we go. Check, check. Home office, I'm going to say no in this example. Startup, building, business insurance, business travel, commissions. Okay. Oh my gosh. 1 through 5 of 16. Let's just continue. All right, it's checking for expenses that are often missed. I guess that's great. It's going to let me know that I should have something. But I've already calculated my expenses. I know every penny that I spent. I can't deduct anything that I didn't actually spend. No. Business meals, no. So it's basically, these categories were all on the previous page. No. Food expenses, no. Oh my gosh. Did you pay taxes or licenses? No. Keep going. So again, I've already calculated all this stuff. So there's a different section for all of these things. Vehicle, let's start there. I'm already tired. Enter the make and model. Let's pretend it's a Jeep. What if I use more? Select the type of vehicle. It's light truck or SUV, under 6,000 pounds. When did you start using it? I started using it February 1, 2023. I own it. We need to know if it was available for personal trips. Yes. Do you have another vehicle? Yes. My spouse has a vehicle available. Do you keep track of your miles? Yes. That's what I want to do. Did you keep track of your miles you drove for personal reasons? No. I'll enter the total miles. First, enter the total miles you drove for any reason. So you got to know this, and it's supposed to be exact. You're not supposed to round this off. So let's just say I do know this, and it was 94.95. Now enter the miles I drove just for work, and I have that. That's 221. I did keep track of that. I kept a mileage log for that. Oh, no, I don't have 4 more vehicles. Based on the miles you drove, your standard mileage deduction is 145. I'm going to take the standard mileage deduction. Parking, tolls, transportation, I didn't have any of those. 145, great, thank you. Do you want to claim another vehicle? No, that's the only vehicle I drove. I put my mileage in, great. Advertising. Advertising, I want to put in advertising. I spent $1,050 on advertising. Continue. Insurance. Let's do that one. I spent $400 on insurance. I don't know why I had to put a description here because we already said it was insurance. Continue. Not a data entry. Office expenses. Let's start there. So what I have left is I have supplies and software. So I'm going to put all of this in one spot. Supplies, 93. Software. Subscriptions that I needed for my business, 750. And then my cell phone. I'm not going to give you any tax advice here. So you got to figure out how you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to do for how much of your cell phone you may or may not be able to do on Schedule C business. For this example, I'm going to say that I can take $180 for the year for a portion of my cell phone bill related to this business. Make sure I got everything from my notes that I was going to put in. I did. That's everything. So I've put everything in. I'm going to hit continue. All of it's within the United States. Work for a former, no, none of it was for a former employer. Do you have any deductions you'll claim elsewhere? No. Yeah, no, I don't want to run any free check. I guess I have to. There was no skip. My risk is low. Great. Thank you. Do you have another line of self-employment work? No. Let's check your self-employment tax so far. Great. All right, so I got my job, I got my self-employment income. This income from 1099 miscellaneous, I think I may have put yes to that at some point when I set up the account. I'm not sure. I got this federal refund up here in the corner, $55.88. That's useless at this point because I haven't put all of my information in. So why it's showing me that all the way along the way, it's going up, it's going down, it's changing. I don't remember what it said before, but I really wish they didn't show that because it can influence how you're feeling. It can influence what you're doing when you type something in and you see that number go up. You're like, maybe I'll leave that even though you don't actually qualify for it. Anyway, I'm going to skip this kind of continue thing and maybe try to jump to my deductions. Because I know that I have my home mortgage interest. Did you make any estimated tax payments? No. Did you make payments on student loan? No. Medical? No. Child care? No. Home buyer credit? No. HSA? No. Energy improvements? No. Car registration? No. Foreign tax credit? No. Traditional IRA? No. Health insurance premiums? No. Continue. All right, mortgage interest. Hey, look, there we go. It didn't ask me about mortgage interest, but that is what I wanted. So let's continue. We'll cover this. All right. Relax, we got it. Next. I just want to type in the mortgage interest. Change how I enter it. I want to type it in myself. All right, so lender is Bank 1. Someone who isn't my spouse co-owns. The seller is financing. None of these apply. Mortgage interest. All right, so for our example, my mortgage interest is $95.32. Mortgage insurance premiums, we're going to say none. Property taxes. If your property taxes are escrowed with your mortgage, they're going to be somewhere either on your escrow statement or hopefully on the 1098, typically in box 10. If not, it might be below it on the second half of the form. If they're not escrowed, you're going to have to put your property taxes in that you paid yourself from your property tax bill. But property taxes in this example are $24.84. And continue. No, yes, my loan is secured by the property I own. It's my primary home. Did you pay any points? We paid points. We have already deducted all the points. Continue. If you have one 1098, select yes. Yes, I only have one. This loan is it's not a home equity line and it's not a refinance. It's my original mortgage. Thank you. That's all we needed. Thank you. All right, continue. That's all I have for my 1098. Property taxes. We already put that in with part of that. Dependent credits, no. Donations to charity. We are going to say we have donations to charity. Yes. What did you donate? Money. Skip for now. Let's see what that does. Oh, all right. Let's edit and add. Let's go back. All right. Money, toys. Did you want to enter your donations? Oh, here we go. All right. So maybe I need to say charitable giving was $4,325 and it was money. Amount. I already did that. $43.20. Oh. What did you donate? Cash. It was money. It was $4,325. Done. Amount of donation. Tell us about the money you gave in cash. Oh, I thought I just did that. Done. Oh, I got two of them now. So let's delete this one. All right. Date, untitled, money, $43.25. Done. Done. All right. Got my mortgage interest, got my property taxes, got my donations. Perfect. Continue. Now you can see that did not change my federal refund, and the reason is because they don't add up to more than the standard deduction. We'll cover that when I go over the tax return, but it didn't do anything. I put that information in. It wasn't enough to itemize my deduction. Standard deduction is better, so it didn't change anything. Let's check your home buyer. I don't have a home buyer credit. I want to do my rental. The only thing I have left to enter that I haven't entered yet, we've done my regular W-2, we've done my spouse's clergy W-2, we got the housing allowance, minister's housing allowance in there. I did my side hustle business and deductions. Did my property taxes, mortgage interest, and charitable giving, itemized deductions. The only thing I have left in my example is rental property. I don't want to go through a bunch of random questions. I just want to tell it that I have rental income. Investment credit, no. Nanny, employee, no. Refund, no. Presidential campaign, no. IP pin, no. Wish there was a way. Wonder, that's all we need. Let's see if I can search rental. Rental income. Let's see if it takes me to where I can put that in. That's just research. I don't want that. I want add more income. Let's try that. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Rentals. Rental property. Schedule E. There we go. Did you have any income rentals or royalties? Yes, I did. That's why I'm in this section. Let's see if you're a real estate professional. Probably not. I spend more than $750 an hour actively involved in real estate. No. I spend more than 50% of my time. No. I just have a rental property that I got to do a little bit with, but it's not 750 hours. I have a management company handle it. It is rental property, not royalty. A little video again. All right. Property nickname, rental 1. It's going to be at 150 Main Street, Orlando, Florida. 32832. Continue. Who owns it? We both own it jointly. It is a regular single family rental property. Someone rents it month to month. It is the first year rented. Was it rented every single day? No. Fair rental days. Well, it was rented, in my example, I chose to say February 11th. So that would be, it was rented February 11th. So 28 minus 11 is 17 days in February, plus March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Fair rental days, 323. I did not use it personally any days. Are you active? You own 10% of the property? Yes. You made major management decisions? Yes. So I do use a management company, but they call me. They ask me if repairs need to be made. I did make management decisions. I am active. Did you make any payments for more than $600? I did not. We were not the only owners. Our property is on Indian Reserve. No. Review. Looks good. Get started. Thank you. Finally. Let's get started. What type of income did you receive? I'm going to say I just received cash or check. Now, you might have 1099 miscellaneous from your management company. In fact, you probably do. So you would want to probably input that, but I'm just going to input my rent directly. It's going to go faster. So my rental income for this property was $18,000. You report 18 so far. Do you have any more rental income? No. Looks good. Expenses and asset. Here we go. Expenses and asset. Great. Assets, new rental property. Yes, this was new. I bought it this year, so I do need to enter the assets so I depreciate the property appropriately. Improvements, I did not do any improvements or repairs, but I do have real estate taxes. I do have insurance. I did have some minor repairs that I can just write off immediately. I did have mortgage interest for this, and insurance, property tax, rent, mortgage repairs. All right. Management fees, I had those. Let's go next. It's a repair. All right, here we go. So I got my income, my real estate taxes. We're going to say the total amount of taxes, property taxes on this rental property were $1,345. My insurance premiums on this particular property were $1,200. My repairs, now these are repairs that I can write off. They're minor repairs. They're not improvements to the property. And you need to understand the difference between those in order to prepare this return accurately. $2,343. My management fee paid to the company was 10%. So that was $1,800 that they took off of my $18,000 of rental income. And mortgage interest. I did have mortgage interest because, wait, hang on. Insurance, property tax, rent, management fee, repairs. No. I did not have mortgage interest. Delete. Back. Sorry. I thought I had mortgage. But in my example, I don't have a mortgage on this rental property for the sake of this sample tax return. All right, let's see if you're eligible for QBI. All right, so yes. Do you want to take QBI Safe Harbor? No, I don't. I'm going to say yeah. We're going to say this rental property qualifies for QBI. Again, something you have to know whether you qualify for it or not, because that's a deduction it's going to take on your tax return if you do qualify. I'm going to say yes here because in my example, we're going to say I do qualify. That's what I did on my other one. All right, so this is residential rental 1. Continue. Let's cover the business income needs to be adjusted. Deductions from other topics are related. This business has wages. No, none of that. This isn't a business. I don't know how I got to business. No, I don't think I have much income. Hang on. Great news. You get a tax break. Oh, this was my QBI. Except I got to enter in the asset, another rental property. No, I haven't entered in the asset to depreciate the rental property yet. So I need to edit this. I need to somehow get the property in here so that it depreciates it. Oh, asset. Add an expense or asset. Hang on. New rental property asset. Oh, here we go. There it is. So we're going to say, congrats on the rental for the first time. Okay. Was this property your residence in the past? No, I bought this new. Did you purchase it? Yes. Purchase date. All right. We're going to say that was February 11th. Available date for rental was February 11th immediately. The original purchase price was $250,000. Seller did not pay any points. Okay. Recording fees, legal fees, land survey, insurance, transfer, expenses. So there would be some of this, but for this example, I want $250,000 to be my total cost for this property. So I'm going to leave those blank. Home improvements, room additions, no. Energy credits, other adjustments. I want to make sure maximizing your property's appreciation. No. So far, the basis is $250. Great. Land value. So this is where you have to look at the property tax records again. I can't give you tax advice here on how to do this, but what I do is I use the county tax records to figure out the percentage of land for the tax records, and I use that as the same percentage for land for the purchase of the property. Land, you cannot depreciate. That's why this is very important. So in my example, I'm going to say that that was 20% of the $250,000, which would be $50,000. That was the land value. Improvement value, including that would be the rest, 200. So 250 was the total, land is 50, the rest is 200. Building 200, land 50, perfect. Rental expense deduction. So they're calculating my depreciation. They didn't tell me anything about the life of the house. It's 27 and a half years for this purpose. It didn't tell me that, but you just kind of assumed that it did it right. Hopefully it did. Now I have put in everything that I put in for the tax return that I did on my professional software into TurboTax. We need to review it to see if it's the same. I'm going to open up the tax return. This says my federal refund is $5,114. So we need to review this to see if it is the same as the tax return that I prepared in my software. It says my federal refund is $5,114. If I open up my sample refund, my sample tax return, I've got $5,108. Now there could be some rounding issues here. There's a couple of ways to calculate the income tax, whether it's just a straight kind of math calculation or you go to the tables and look at a range of income. It's only going to be off by a few dollars. It should not be off by more than probably $10 to $20, if even that much. So $5,108 and $5,114 are perfectly close enough together to where I'm feeling good actually about this TurboTax return. I'm going to review here. I think it'll show me some. It's almost ready. Continue. I just want to see like a summary of the tax return itself to be able to compare that. Review. Let's go there. Do you want to enter sales tax information? No. I don't have state taxes. I want to see a summary of this tax return. Now, if you've paid for TurboTax, I'm pretty sure it will show you the forms. and it will show you a summary, but I'm not able to get to that. It could be because I didn't type in social security numbers, but when I go to review, it's telling me that it needs more information. So all I can do right now in TurboTax is I can see the federal refund is $5,114. I can't see taxes you paid, your taxes. Oh, here we go. Here's a little summary here. All right. So if I say taxes you've paid is $12,000, that should probably agree with my tax return here. $12,000 was the total W-2 withholding from mine and my spouse's W-2. So those are the taxes I paid. Your taxes are total income $79,875. So my total income $79,875. That agrees to what I plugged into my software. This tax return came from the software that I professionally use. So that agrees there. The deductions $32,496. That is probably these two added together. Let's see. My deductions are 1905 QBI. Oh wait. My total deductions. Standard, qualified business income deduction, self-employment tax. Okay. All right. I'm good with that. I lost it. Explain my taxes. Taxable income, $47,379. I've got $47,449. $47,379 minus $47,449. I'm $70 off somewhere. I'm not sure where that happened, but we're not too far off. I'm going to keep going for now. $52.51, $52.45. Other taxes, $56.41, $56.41. Credits, $4,000, credits, $4,000. Total taxes, $68.86, $68.92. Again, we're within $10 here. Refund, $51.14, $51.08. So TurboTax, like I said, the result is basically the same. It does look like I ended up off $70 somewhere, so I might have typed in something slightly different here on TurboTax than I did when I was doing it on my software. But that's exactly what I said. The results should be identical within a few dollars for some rounding, because if we put in the same information into both programs, it should reveal the same result. It's basic adding, subtracting, and multiplying to figure out your taxes. Now, TurboTax, maybe if you were doing this without TurboTax, you'd forget a deduction, but as long as you qualify and you take it and you input the right information, the results are the same. Software is not going to help you in terms of getting a larger deduction by using a specific software. So let's go through real quick what the tax return should look like with this example. So the $70,000, that's my W-2 income of $50,000 plus my spouse's clergy box 1 W-2 of $20,000 in this example. The minister's housing allowance does not show up in this number. That was $15,000. So this is just the 50 plus the 20 without the minister's housing allowance. Other income, well, that's coming from Schedule 1, line 10. I'll tell you what that is. That's going to be your rental income and your side hustle self-employment income, net of the expenses. That's going to give you your total income. The adjustments to income, in this particular example, that's going to be 1/2 of Social Security and Medicare taxes for the self-employment clergy and the self-employment side hustle business added together. That's going to give me my AGI. Remember, I said that the mortgage interest, property taxes, and charitable giving, it did not add up to more than the standard deduction. Standard deduction for a married couple, $27,700. Those things did not add up to more than that, so we take the standard. Qualified business income, that's related to my self-employment Schedule C, side hustle, and the rental property, because we said that did qualify for QBI as well. Gives you your total deductions. Subtract your total deductions from your AGI. You get your taxable income of $47,449 in this example. That yields $5,251 in federal income tax. That's your federal income tax number. That's the number that's important. That one in line 24, total taxes. That's more important than your refund, by the way. So that's my taxes owed, income taxes. Then I get the child tax credit. I had 2 kids, qualified for the full amount, $2,000 per kid. $4,000 gets subtracted from my income tax. So now, after tax credits, my net income tax is only $1,251. That is all on $70,000 plus 15 of minister's housing allowance. That's $85,000 of gross income plus my side hustle income. I'm only paying $1,251 of federal income tax. Now, $5,641, that's the self-employment taxes on the clergy, wages, minister's housing allowance, and the self-employment side hustle business. $5,641, Social Security and Medicare taxes. It is not income tax. Does get calculated here on your personal tax return, though, and added to your income tax for a total tax liability of $6,892. That is what you owe the federal government in taxes. That is the number you want to get as low as legally possible. That is the number you want to pay attention to. Now, $6,892 divided by our total income on this tax return, which is our W-2 taxable income and our rental net income after deductible expenses and our business side hustle income after deductible expenses, was $6,892, is the total tax. My AGI, or my total income, was $79,875, but that doesn't include my minister's housing allowance. So $79,875 plus my spouse's housing allowance, $15. Total income is $94,875. So my total tax of $68,992 divided by $94,875 is 7.3%. That's not even income taxes. Income taxes, remember, were just $1,251 divided by $94,875. My federal income tax average rate for this couple making $94,000 a year is 1.3%. All right. You add in the Social Security and Medicare taxes on the self-employment income, it goes up to 7.3%. That's pretty good. Now, between my W-2 and my spouse's, I had $12,000 of federal withholding. That is what I have already paid towards these taxes. So I owed $692. I already paid $12. I'm getting a refund of $5,108. So if I had only paid $2,000, I would now owe $48.92. If I had had $20,000 withheld from my paycheck, I'd be getting an extra $8,000 back. That's why your refund doesn't matter. It's a product of what your withholding already was. So forget the refund. Whether you owe or get a refund, who cares? You just want to minimize your total tax impact. You get a giant refund, all it means is that you over withheld. You paid the government more than you needed to during the year, and now you're getting some of it back. So your refund, pointless. Pay attention to how much actual tax you owe. Now that's it for the Form 1040, page 1 and 2. That's the 1040. There's a bunch of other schedules that have everything else in there. The next one, Schedule 1, this income is flowing from another spot. This is the schedule they added a couple years ago. It's got our net business income, our net rental income. It's got Schedule Part 2 of that has our deductible portion of self-employment taxes. Schedule 2 has the self-employment taxes. Schedule C, this is for my side hustle. This was my consulting business. Remember, we typed in the 75-45 of total income. We had our business expenses for net taxable income from that business of $49.27. We go on to Schedule E, that's our rental income, $18,000 of rental income minus the deductions we had there. Our depreciation expense. Remember, TurboTax calculated this, but it didn't show me exactly how it came up with the number, but we've got 6364. All right, so it calculated my depreciation as 6,364. Yeah, that was identical. So it should be. Got the same place and service date, got the same basis. Useful life for residential rental property, 27.5 years. I'm glad that gave us the same result. That's our rental property schedule. Oh, self-employment tax. Here's another piece. So 4927, that's the net business income from my Schedule C sole self-employment side hustle. 4927 is what I'm going to pay self-employment taxes on. Then my spouse, remember her clergy income. She had $20,000 of Box 1 W-2 and she had $15,000 of minister's housing allowance. So you owe self-employment tax, if you haven't opted out, on both the base wage and the minister's housing allowance. It's one of the number one mistakes I see. I have a video on that, number one clergy tax mistakes. Take a look at that if this applies to you. But Schedule SE has the $20,000 of W-2 taxable wages and the $15,000 of MHA. So that $15,000 of MHA was not subject to income tax. It is subject to self-employment, Social Security, and Medicare taxes. So we put that there. That gives us that. We got credits for our 2 kids. There's phase out limits here based on the kids qualifying based on your income level, but we qualified for the full 4,000. QBI has its own worksheets. We got the net side hustle income. We got the net rental income. Calculation gives us a QBI deduction. So those are the forms that were necessary for this tax return. All right, let's jump into the review of TurboTax software. So as I mentioned at the beginning of this, the software should not matter, and we proved that it didn't. Our result was basically the same. Again, it was off by a few dollars. There was potentially a $70 input error on my part, so it may have been exact if I hadn't done that. I'm not going to spend the time going back looking for that $70. You would definitely want to go back and make sure that you didn't transpose any numbers, that you typed in everything correctly. You'd want to get the actual form. We just walked through the form of what it should look like based on what I prepared in my tax software. I couldn't see the form in TurboTax, but if you pay for the software of TurboTax, it should show you the form before you file. You want to be able to look through the tax return and make sure that it's right before you file it. Do not just trust the software. There could be some typo errors. There could be some question. I mean, there was a million questions we answered about, was this property, owned by you and someone else? Did your kid make enough money to support themselves? Like, there were a million questions in there that we might have checked the wrong box. Remember, I did check the wrong box on that child, and it said they didn't qualify as a dependent. So I had to go back and fix that. So you want to make sure that you understand your tax return if you're self-preparing it. TurboTax does not guarantee. They have got a guarantee on their calculations. We've proved that their calculations are correct. They should be. That's what they do. Their tax prep software. Their calculations should be right. They are. They're within a few dollars of my professional tax prep software. So the calculations and software, there should be no issues with that. If there are, that's a major problem and you shouldn't use the software. They do not make any guarantees about the actual tax return being correct, because if you input deductions that you don't qualify for, they're not on the hook for that. You are. If the IRS audits you and they take those off and they charge you extra taxes, penalties, interest for that, TurboTax has no guarantee against that, because you're the one putting the data into the tax return, so you're responsible when you sign that tax return. They're only responsible for the basic math calculations. So TurboTax, find software if you know what you're doing. Also, if you don't mind going through that horrible interview. I mean, I have a tax organizer. Of course, I have to collect information from my clients, but I've had a conversation with them. I have an organizer that is way easier, way less reading, less questions, better wording of the questions where I'm collecting information. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of that, but then all the data entry, all the making sure that the return is right, what you actually qualify to deduct, all that is being done by the professional. I was able to do the data entry for this return in 20 to 25 minutes on my professional software. In TurboTax, it took me closer to 45, about double the time. And I skipped a lot. If you're doing this on your own, you're probably reading a lot more than what I did. You're definitely doing some of that research on what you're able to deduct, what you need to enter in for rental income, for side hustle business income, for what qualifies for deductions. You're doing a lot of reading. I mean, it's going to take you several hours. And if it costs you $300-$400 and you save 3-4 hours of time, that's $100 an hour that it's costing you. That might be worth it to trade your time and get your time back to have someone else prepare this return. So all that to say, I would not personally use TurboTax. Fortunately, I have the professional tax software where I can just jump to the screens. I know what information needs to go in. I know what's allowed to be deductible or not. I'm not doing the research while I'm preparing the return, which takes a significant amount of time. I don't have to go through the questions TurboTax asks in order to find out if I qualify for something, because I know whether or not I do, and I'm just doing the data entry. So obviously there's a lot of knowledge there and research that's already happened, but I don't have to do that for each individual return. So I'm able to prepare this return significantly less time, which means less strain, because this is what I do for a living. So my efficiency there is over years and years of doing hundreds and hundreds and thousands of tax returns that have similar fact patterns. And so I can do that very efficiently. Now, again, doing this on your own, Yeah, TurboTax is fine. It was a little bit draining energy-wise. This is why people hate taxes, right? You got to gather all the information. You got to read all this stuff. You got to do it. Now, you're still responsible. For the clients that I have, they're still responsible for the information they get to me. They still have to gather their documents and provide that to me. But they don't have to sit through that. They don't have to decide if something is legitimate expense or not. They don't have to understand the tax laws to that level. Now, I still want my clients to understand what's in their return, what they qualify for, and have a basic understanding, because even though I'm preparing it, they still sign it as the taxpayer saying that the information in here is true and accurate under penalties of perjury. So they're still taking responsibility for that tax return, even though they've hired a professional. So definitely understand that. If you don't do your own return on TurboTax, you're still taking responsibility for what you've provided to the tax preparer. Now, the tax preparer makes stuff up. That's fraud on their behalf. If they miss something, that's a mistake that they would need to be held accountable for. But if they input the information you give them, and then you get audited and that gets denied because you gave them information that was made up or wasn't accurate, or you didn't do what you needed to do in order to provide that information, that's still going to be on you. You cannot offload your tax responsibility to a preparer fully. You're still going to have to take some responsibility. If it were me, I think I probably would hire a professional to offload that, where I'm just doing kind of the gathering, passing off, answering some questions piece, and have a professional in my corner to be able to ask those questions and understand the tax law. Because if you're not in it every day, you're not going to understand it like we are. So there you go. That's how I would have prepared this return in TurboTax. If you found this video enjoyable, please share it with others so that they can watch it as well. Thanks for watching.